recent years, a growing number of First Nations have been bringing bison back to their communities and to the land. Now, a team of researchers at the University of Saskatchewan is hard at work to develop a system of sustainable management for the animals. It's working with the Kakewistahau Economic Management Corporation. They hope to bring a herd of bison to their First Nation later this spring. Candace Wasakase is the CEO of the corporation, and she joins me now in studio. Good morning, and thanks so much for coming in.
Good morning, Teresa.
Well, first of all, what kind of background do you have when it comes to bison management?
You know, I said in the pre-show was that I'm not an expert on bison, but I do feel that as a First Nations person, that we are all heavily invested in returning the physicalness of the bison, our relatives, back to the land. They've been away from us for 150 years. I've been a part of other bison renewal projects, such as Wanuskewin Heritage Park, and formerly at the University of Saskatchewan, working alongside of the College of Ag Bio to re-examine our relationship with the bison.
I'm very interested in your experience at Wanuskewin. What were some of the challenges, with the land to prepare that for the animals?
Yes, I remember at those days, it was always a goal to bring the bison home. And we knew that we had a piece of land, but it was always agriculture-based land, and it was a pasture, and it needed to be something a little bit better for bison before it was raising cattle and hay fields. And so we worked alongside of Meewasin Valley Authority, and they have a beautiful seed bank that helped us restore the natural grasslands. And it took a couple of years to do that before we could even consider bringing the bison home.
I had no idea how much work ahead of time needed to go into this. So given this, now we have researchers in our city looking at, if they work with you to prepare the land as Kakewistahau, what exactly are you and other researchers focusing on here?
Yeah, so it's really important that we make sure that the land is suitable, that the conditions are right. But let's not kid ourselves. When it's minus 40, the most keystone resilient species we have in this part of the world is the bison. They know how to survive here better than we do. And I think there's so many things, because it's intertwined with First Nation spirituality, why that resiliency is so key to our own survival.
And you mentioned that spirituality. What do the bison mean to different Indigenous peoples here on this land?
Many years ago when the university first started down this path, they asked a very important question: what is our relationship? Well, as First Nations people, we've always had a relationship with the bison, whether it was through migration, whether it was through food, clothing, sustenance, but they're also a very spiritual animal. The grandfather. We call the bison our grandfathers. And so the spirit of the bison has never really left us, only the physicalness, and now they're back.
So how do you think this cultural significance will now influence the research and your hopes that what comes out of that?
What we have to do now going forward is really a co-creation of a strategy to go forward in sustaining bison. When bison first left, it was due to human slaughter and to break open the West. Let's not kid ourselves. It was to make room for farming. And the return of that, it signifies a renewal of spirit. And I imagine the small child today that would grow up in the first time in 150 years seeing and being a part of the bison's lives together. I think it represents a renewal of spirit that we've never seen.
Besides the challenges of the land itself to
Yes.
prepare it, what do you think are some of the other challenges to bring the bison back to the land?
I think it's making sure that our herds are healthy. And that we always make sure that we're mindful of disease and biogenetics of those bisons. This is the type of work that I learned alongside of the College of Ag that helps inform the practice that we'll be undertaking on Kakewistahau First Nation.
Okay, so what are your plans for the bison once, you get the herd established? Sure. Like, what's next?
Yeah. So right now we are working with the Nature Conservatory of Canada. We'll be looking at a herd of bison that is currently at Grasslands National Park. We'll be transporting them. There'll be feasts. There'll be ceremony. I said earlier that there'll be a lot of tears and joy and renewal. But once the bison are back on Kakewistahau land, it's going to be the multi-purpose. Of course, it's going to be about food and food sovereignty. But of course, it's all intertwined with that giving of that spirit, the bison, back to the community as we give our spirit to them.
And when do you think the herd might arrive at
Yeah,
land?
we have a couple of community visits. We're going to spend some time with the herd down in grasslands, and we're going to spend time with that, with examining our bison paddocks and our land and making sure that it's ready to go. And we've done that sort of work up to date, and we'll be looking in the next 3 months. So as soon as the freeze is done, we will look to bring our bison home.
Do you think it will be challenging? I'm thinking about genetics,
Yeah.
like to keep and grow this herd. Do you think there will be challenges in that way?
Yeah. So Denise and Nathan in our lands department, alongside of chief and council, are very mindful that we could be that center that helps other First Nations bring their bison for breeding onto our bison land. It's very important that we keep the genetic diversity and the biodiversity of of these spirits, of our relatives, alive and healthy.
Before we let you go, Candace, you were at Wanuskewin when the bison came back. Now
Yeah.
you're watching this.
Yeah.
How do you feel like reflecting on this journey?
You know, there's really, I was thinking about that on my way here this morning. It's that I've been so blessed and so fortunate to be a part of what will now be my third herd.
Wow.
And different approaches for each one, absolutely. And we're learning as we go. But I do think it's that co-creation of new knowledges between traditional Indigenous practices and university research is what's going to be the path forward.
Candace, it was lovely having you. Thank you for coming
Thank you,
into
Teresa.
studio, and all the best with the project.
Thank you very much.